Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy Sunday to you and your family. Taking a look, of course, here at Quant, QNT, seeing what's going on. Got a lot of requests for this one. I can totally see why. I've covered this actually in the relative recent past, but it's been maybe about a week or two since we looked at it last. I just want to kind of revisit this and see roughly where we're at. The previous Fibonacci retracement levels are actually looking pretty good. It's pretty consistent, the ways in which it's consolidating in those areas. And we're going to go ahead and hopefully help understand what's going to happen here for QNT, and obviously help educate you on best practice and big picture. So if you do want to become a better trader, again, cryptocash.tech is a website, link in the description below. If you'd like to have and work with the best exchange in the world, in my personal opinion, I would choose Bitget if I were you. They do offer a transfer bonus, which is very significant. All you got to do is transfer funds and use the exchange. It's quite simple. Up until November 30th is a cutoff for that, but they have fantastic liquidity, and it's just nice to see a good exchange that's easy to use. And they also have demo trading too, which is cool. I'm teaching a lot of my community members to use that first before they jump right into the leverage trading. Very last thing to recognize, of course, is just with our signals have a handful of decent profits too, in case you're curious about what that looks like. Because again, if you were to become a community member, you have access to the Trading Academy, community, and signal group, where I not only teach you how to trade, but I share all of my trades with you. We're currently in a Bitcoin long right now to give you perspective. All right, so generally speaking, that's kind of where we're at there. Let's take a look here at QNT and go with the big picture and work our way down. So in the big picture, obviously, we can see QNT has done fairly well for itself. Its highest point is somewhere in the 400 plus range. Now, we're roughly a third of the way to that point, but at this time, what we want to recognize is the fact that it is slightly overextended, and that a pullback would make sense in the relative near future. It would make more sense to have a pullback on the fourth day, because oftentimes you see three white soldiers where the price action shoots up very strong for 3 days straight, and there has to be a consolidation effort. Not saying it's going to happen, but we are 2 strong green days so far. Perhaps tomorrow's the third, and the fourth day could follow with a red day. Anyways, candlestick patterns have a tendency of fulfilling themselves, and they do happen, so make sure you pay attention to that. But what we're looking at here is we broke above 70 on the RSI, so if we can close above the level of 152, roughly, that's basically the 1.414 Fibonacci retracement level, we'll likely use that as a support level, and the price will continue higher. Okay, we can also see that we have an ascending type of trend here as well, whereas the price continues to increase. I'm willing to speculate one of the moving averages will align itself with that, because oftentimes you see that happen quite frequently. But just to quickly touch on before we get into that, we do see that we had a MACD convergence as well. Basically, it came down instead of diverging and continued to bounce upwards, whereas these oscillators are increasing, and that's a positive sign. Okay, so again, mostly good stuff here. Not saying you should just jump right in, but we have more positive than negative at this point. And once again, as to be a good to have good technical analysis, or to be good at it, my personal opinion is that you want to look at all time frames from large to small, and gather as much information from each time frame as possible to make an informed decision. So that's what we're basically doing, just increasing the odds of it going one way or the other. Because if we can see and identify that the whales are doing X, Y, and Z, we should be doing X, Y, and Z as well, because they control the market, and what we do, we don't have enough liquidity to push the price action up or down. Okay, just bear that in mind. All right, that being said, that's kind of where we're at there for the daily. Let's quickly peek though actually at the moving averages, and this is kind of what I was talking about here. It's not a phenomenon per se, but it definitely happens pretty consistently, where you see the moving average. 20 is typically the first one to align itself with the most immediate trend. So with the 20-day set moving average averaging itself out concurrent with that ascending trend, that gives us reaffirmation that the price were to come back down and retrace, we should likely see a bounce off that level. Now keep in mind, ascending, descending trends, whatever trends they are, they can only last for so long. Okay, so this isn't going to happen forever. But for right now, it's only been tested essentially 2, maybe 3 times if you stretch it out a little bit. And if that is the case, a lot of times trends I've noticed, somewhere between 3 to 5, I would say, retests is when it can potentially break. So just bear in mind, if we come over and retest this level, it could very well likely not hold because of that. The other thing to also recognize, just really quick to touch on moving averages, is that the 50-day set moving average carries more weight than the 20. So hypothetically, the price action does one of these, it should be able to work itself up with the 20, or correction, the 50-day set moving average. I put a lot more weight onto the 50 and the 200 on both the daily and the 4-hour time frame. So let's look at that here. We can see the 50-day simple moving average working its way up. Not super relevant, but it is absolutely working as a support. We can also see the 200 working concurrently as well with the ascending trend. I do apologize. I've been mousing with my left hand for a few days, and even though I'm getting the hang of it, my straight lines aren't that straight. So I hope you can hope you can deal with that. Injured my hand recently, of course, and unfortunately from a wild dog attack. It was a lot of fun. You can watch some of my older videos, and I explain kind of what's going on there. Anyways, my dog survived, and so did I. Thank God. All right, so here's where we're at for the 4 hour. We want to look at the RSI, and then of course maybe touch on the MACD. So first of all, RSI is overextended on both the daily and the 4 hour. So expecting a pullback would make sense, right? Now it could have, it's already kind of pulling back if you think about it, but what we want to look at is exhaustion and see if there's any continuation here potential. Now, if you're not familiar with my channel or just in general what TD sequential is, it takes a sequence of numbers, basically addressing the fourth previous candlestick and counting up from there. So when you hit a 9, you've basically had 9 full 4 hour candles, basically 36 hours of continuation to the downside in this example. Prior to that, it was 36 hours of upside, right? You can see that there. Well, that being said, we had some nice consolidation here, and then the price action continued to increase as well. So we got another 9. So there's two things that could happen. The likelihood of a price shooting up from here is very low. The reason why is because it's overexhausted and it's outside of its standard deviation. What we should expect to see is one of two things. The price action either go sideways, consolidate at support, that 1.414, right there at roughly $152, or the price comes back down to another Fibonacci retracement level, consolidates, and then decides which direction it wants to go from there. Both scenarios are very likely, and the reason why is because we've hit this sequence of numbers and we're consistently overextended to the upside. So that's important to recognize. If we want to look at the 1 hour as well, if we can confirm that with just say 2 or more 9s, then we have a case here to believe it's going to probably come back down. So let's take a quick look at that, in fact, while we're here. So we hit a 9 here previously on its first little increase where it tried to break through its previous resistance, and it did. So it came up to a 9, kind of got rejected off of that Fibonacci retracement level, consolidated, came up to another 9. Now we're right here. Okay. It consolidated again for a short amount of time, came up to another 9. So we've literally got 3 9s in a row. So QNT has been extremely bullish for 36 hours straight. Do you really think that's going to continue much longer? Me personally, no, not at all. Now, it's not to say it's going to come crashing down, but the likelihood of the price going down from here is higher than it going up based on that sentiment. We want to take a quick look at Ichimoku Cloud and see we are, once again, still overextended, but albeit decent shape here in that sense. So we have probably another, I would say, 12 hours before you might want to consider closing or trimming your position. And this is a conservative indicator, just kind of telling us that, hey, you know, we're overextended, but we still have all the green lights to hold your position open. Basically what it's telling us. So to me, personally, I would have taken some profits by now, especially when it bounces outside that standard deviation there on the volume weight average price. You can see it here on the 15, a little easier, where the price action is going pretty bonkers and essentially well outside of those deviation lines on the volume weight average price. Okay, now we just lost VWAP and the price is kind of jumping up and down, so it's consistently inconsistent because it's trying to find its base based on the fact that it is overextended, right? So my speculation here is the price will pull back before its next leg up. And if it were to leg up, let's just go ahead and touch on this here. The next key level resistance is roughly about 180. I'm rounding up a little bit, but 180 is the likely place in which the price will come up to next. Okay, so I'm expecting a consolidation effort between 152 to 145, and then a likely bounce to continue to honor the ascending trend up to somewhere in the range of 180. Okay, so I'm going to pay close attention to this here and kind of see that, you know, when the price comes close to, just say, for example, 146, then I'll go ahead and get alerted and I'll go ahead and reevaluate. But for now, I would just, I wouldn't expect it to go much further from here because it's extremely overextended on a lot of different time frames and indicators. So all in all, that's kind of where we're at there. I hope that that made sense to you and I explained this correctly. The very last thing I want to do for you is kind of highlight just something really quick here from one of my community members. First of all, we have over 200 members active in our community, and I just want to kind of highlight here that Zach Q, he's our community member of the week. He's had consistent trade results, and he's also very positive and willing to help out the community. So I greatly appreciate you, Zach. Thank you so much for everything you do. These are some pretty awesome results that you're able to provide here. Like that 219% with a 125x long from Bitcoin. They turned around and just shorted the bad boy. This guy's a monster. So again, somebody that you have on your side if you're part of my community, and I thank you all so much for joining me here. If you're not on my social media, feel free to join. All the links are in the description below for that. I do look forward to working with you as well. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.